Welcome to Mr.StoryTeller. Today, we unravel a chilling tale of betrayal and horror, the tragic story of Chris and Shanann Watts. To the outside world, they seemed like the perfect family, living the American dream in Frederick, Colorado. But on August 13, 2018, their seemingly idyllic life shattered in the most unimaginable way. Join us as we delve into the disturbing details of how a seemingly ordinary marriage ended in a brutal and shocking tragedy. Brace yourself for a story that will linger long after you've heard it. Let's dive in. Chris and Shanann Watts seemed like the perfect family, the epitome of the American dream. They lived in a spacious home in Frederick, Colorado, where they were raising their two beautiful daughters, Bella and Celeste, with a third child, a baby boy named Nico, on the way. From the outside looking in, their lives appeared to be idyllic, a family full of love, laughter, and boundless potential. But on the night of August 13, 2018, that illusion was shattered in the most horrific way imaginable. This is the haunting story of how a seemingly ordinary marriage spiraled into unimaginable tragedy. Chris Watts met Shanann Watts in North Carolina in 2010. Shanann was initially hesitant to date Chris, having just emerged from a challenging period in her life, marked by health issues and a difficult previous marriage. But Chris's gentle demeanor and unwavering support won her over. Their relationship blossomed rapidly, and they were married in November 2012. Eager to build a life together, the couple soon relocated to Frederick, Colorado, where they bought a beautiful home and began to grow their family. Their first daughter, Bella, was born in 2013, bringing immense joy to their lives. Just 2 years later, in 2015, they welcomed their second daughter, Celeste. Shanann was thrilled to discover she was pregnant again in 2018, this time with a baby boy they planned to name Nico. On social media, the Watts family seemed to have it all. Shanann frequently shared snapshots of their lives online, pictures of family outings, heartfelt messages to Chris, and joyful updates about their growing family. Her posts painted a picture of a loving and devoted husband and father, and a family that was thriving. Shanann herself was a vibrant and driven woman, successful in her career with a health and wellness company. She was well liked in her community, and her friends admired her seemingly perfect life. But behind the curated images and happy moments, the reality was far from perfect. By early 2018, Shanann began to notice troubling changes in Chris. He had become distant, emotionally withdrawn, and increasingly uninterested in both her and their daughters. He was no longer the attentive, caring husband she had once known. Confused and concerned, Shanann confided in her close friends, expressing her fears that their marriage was in trouble. She worried that Chris was pulling away from her, but she didn't understand why. She tried to salvage their relationship, planning romantic getaways and sending him affectionate messages, but her efforts were met with indifference. Chris was slipping further away from her, and the distance between them was growing. In June 2018, the truth behind Chris's behavior began to emerge. He had started an affair with a co-worker, Nicole Kessinger. Their relationship quickly intensified, and Chris became infatuated with Nicole, viewing her as an escape from the pressures of his family life. As his affair deepened, Chris grew even more detached from Shanann and their daughters. He became cold, aloof, and unresponsive to Shannon's attempts to reconnect. Unbeknownst to Shanann, Chris was already planning to start a new life with Nicole, one that did not include his family. On August 13, 2018, the tension that had been simmering for months finally reached its breaking point. Shanann, who had just returned from a business trip, confronted Chris about his strange behavior. Desperate for answers, she pressed him to explain why he had become so distant. The confrontation quickly escalated into a heated argument. Shanann, heartbroken and fearful, demanded to know the truth. Chris, cornered and unable to maintain his deception any longer, admitted to the affair. The revelation shattered Shanann. She was devastated, her worst fears confirmed. What happened next is both horrifying and heart-wrenching, a nightmare that defies comprehension. In a fit of rage, or perhaps as a result of his cold, calculated decision, Chris attacked Shanann, strangling her in their bedroom while their daughters, Bella and Celeste, were just a few rooms away. The violence was shocking in its brutality, and the betrayal was even more so. Chris, the man who had vowed to love and protect Shanann, was now the one ending her life. After killing Shanann, Chris faced the unthinkable task of covering up his crime. He wrapped her body in a sheet and carried it downstairs, loading it into the back of his truck. But his monstrous actions did not end there. Chris then turned his attention to his daughters, Bella and Celeste, who were still alive and likely confused by the commotion. He loaded the girls into the truck, placing them in the back seat, and drove them to a remote oil field where he worked. Once at the site, Chris committed the unthinkable. He smothered his youngest daughter, Celeste, first, and then turned to Bella, who was reportedly old enough to understand what was happening and pleaded for her life. Despite her cries, Chris silenced his daughter in the same brutal manner. He then disposed of their small bodies in oil tanks, hiding them away in the dark, foul-smelling containers. Shannon's body was buried in a shallow grave nearby, a cruel and undignified end for a woman who had loved Chris so deeply. Later that day, when Shannon's friend noticed that she wasn't responding to messages, she became concerned and called the police. Officers arrived at the Watts home to find Shanann and the girls missing. Chris, ever the actor, played the part of a concerned husband and father, even appearing on local news, pleading for their safe return. He claimed to have no idea where they could be, maintaining a facade of innocence. But it wasn't long before his story began to unravel. Police quickly grew suspicious of Chris's inconsistent statements and his apparent lack of genuine emotion. His behavior was strange and unnerving, too calm, too composed. When he failed a polygraph test, the walls of his deception began to close in. Under pressure from investigators, Chris finally confessed to the murders, though he initially tried to shift the blame onto Shanann, claiming that she had killed their daughters in a fit of rage, and that he had killed her in retaliation. However, as the evidence mounted, and under further questioning, Chris finally admitted to killing his entire family. Chris Watts was arrested and later sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case shocked the nation, not only because of its brutality but because of the betrayal at its core. How could an apparently normal, loving father and husband commit such heinous acts? The answer remains elusive, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath even the most seemingly ordinary lives. The story of Chris and Shanann Watts serves as a grim reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that sometimes, the darkness within a person can lead to unimaginable horror. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey through the tragic and haunting story of Chris and Shanann Watts. The depths of this tragedy remind us that even the most perfect facades can conceal unimaginable darkness. If you found this story gripping, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Mr.StoryTeller for more compelling true crime stories and eerie tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Stay tuned for our next story, where we'll dive into another gripping narrative that reveals the hidden shadows of human nature. Until then, remember, sometimes the most frightening stories are the ones that unfold in the quietest corners of our lives. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.